In America, failure is supposed to be shameful, something you hide, something you recover from quietly. But study wealthy Americans closely enough, and you find something that completely contradicts that cultural narrative. They fail more than everyone else, more visibly, more expensively, and they built a psychology around failure that most people were never taught and never given permission to have. And that psychology is the actual asset, not the money. Here's what research on high net worth individuals consistently finds. Wealthy Americans don't just tolerate failure differently, they process it differently at a neurological level. Where most people's brains code failure as a threat, triggering shame, avoidance, and withdrawal, high wealth individuals tend to code it as data, information, a necessary cost of operating at the edge of what's possible. Psychologist Carol Dweck's landmark research on growth mindset, conducted largely with American subjects, found that the belief that abilities can be developed through failure and effort predicted achievement far more accurately than natural talent or starting resources. And wealthy Americans don't just intellectually agree with that idea, they've built their entire financial behavior around it. They make more investments knowing some will fail. They start more businesses knowing most won't survive. They have more uncomfortable conversations knowing some will damage relationships. Because their psychology runs a completely different risk calculation than the one most Americans were handed in childhood. Researcher Thomas Stanley spent decades studying American millionaires for his landmark book, The Millionaire Next Door. What he found demolished every Hollywood narrative about wealth. The average American millionaire started multiple failed ventures, lived below their means for years, and never once waited until the risk felt comfortable. Because they understood something most Americans spend their whole lives unlearning. The shame around failure isn't protecting you, it's just keeping you still. If this hit home, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.